couple more minutes.
Great. Well, I'm going to
Laura,
start the
hi.
recording right now. And I know there are quite a few people who couldn't make it today, but are going to be watching the recording. So I've had a number of people reach out to me. So hi. Normally I do these as a Facebook Live for my group, but I know we decided to do this as a Zoom webinar. Hey everyone that's joining us. Hello everyone that's watching this in the future, which is kind of weird. But hello from the past. I know this is kind of magical, right? So Amir and I did a webinar. What was it? 2 weeks ago, Amir? Was it longer?
Yeah, couple weeks. Are you recording?
I am recording. Yes.
Okay, go for it.
So you can't swear or.
Yeah, no. Now we got to clean up our act.
Yeah. Got to be a professional now.
That's right.
But yeah, we did a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of did it for your group, Amir, and then I suggested it'd be great to do one for the coaching understanding group too, and hence here we are for kind of part 2 of the webinar. I'm just going to quickly mute a few people so we don't get any background noise. Yeah, so this is part 2, and it's been really interesting because since we've spoken last time, I've kind of just been reflecting on this whole idea of being a professional, which is what our group's going to be about, which is starting soon, and what it really means. So I've got some ideas and some thoughts, but is there anything you particularly wanted to talk about, and what's the feedback been for you since we did our last webinar?
It's been really good. People love this. I mean, let me tell you a quick story of why this is useful, why having a community of coaches, whether they do the program, whether they not, but to get on these kind of calls. And after this call, even if you find somebody that resonates with you here, connect with them and share ideas. And why I say that is, about a week after I wanted to do the program with Kush, I was pumped, I was excited, and I'm like, yeah, let's have a competition, let's have fun, let's not have a competition. We were just, I was riled up. Literally the following week, my restaurants, there was a lot going on. There's from paperwork to actual physical things happening at my restaurant. And I called Kush and I'm like, hey man, maybe we shouldn't do this right now. Like maybe we should hold off on this. Maybe we should, maybe you do it yourself, or I don't know. I just wanted to just kind of, I think I jumped the gun and I was in my head about it. And Kush is like, well, I'm about to go to the United States in about, a couple days from now. I don't remember what it was. He goes, so I don't know if I can just jump in and create a group by myself. And plus, I wanted to do this with you. So how can I support you, and how can I have this work so we're both on the same page again? I'll do the best I can. I'm leaving in a couple days to go to the United States, but I'll do the best I can. If you want, I'll figure out enrollment conversations. If you want the emails to come to me, let them come to me. What do you need, Amir? And you know what's funny? Just having someone on my side changed it for me. It's the strangest thing. He didn't coach me. He didn't tell me, Amir, what you need to do is show up as a professional. He didn't do anything. He was there for me. I hung up the phone. A couple hours later, I said, I'm back. Thank you for that. That was it. There was nothing else needed. And I just saw the value. Kush is a friend of mine. He's become a very good friend of mine. But on top of that, there's something about being in a community. And that's part of showing up professionally to me. It's not professional in the sense of, okay, it's time to, put your stuff straight. It's being there for someone, being at service for them. And it's not at the end of that call with Kush, he didn't go, so do you want to join my 3-month program? It wouldn't have made sense because I'm doing the program with him. But there was no selling. There was nothing going on. It was just him supporting me. And one of the biggest attributes why I'm excited for both the group that we're going to do, the 3-month program, end this webinar is ask your questions, show up with your ideas. You have support. You have us. You have the people here to support you. And if at the end of this conversation, at the end of this hour, you go, you know what, some of my questions didn't get answered, but I promise you after the end of the call, I can talk to Leonard, Ankush, Sue, Jason, Helen, and they'd be happy to help me. That alone is worth the price of admission to me. So that's why I wanted to begin with my little story. So thank you, Kush.
No, thanks for that, Amir. The proposal is going to come at the end of the 3-month program, so I'm just kind of
perfect. I was waiting for that.
But no, I was, I kind of meant what I said. I'm really looking forward to doing this program with you. Like you say, the one thing I love about creating programs is I always end up creating some content for the program like this, and regardless of whether people show up or not, I think this should be helpful for people. And I'm really going to open it up to questions. We'd love to hear from people. We'd love to make this kind of live and interactive. It's the most useful thing. But I wanted to start with something. I had a coaching conversation or a discussion this morning with a coach, and I was talking to them, and this is what's been crystallizing for me in the last couple of weeks. This is kind of really fresh, and that is that what is stopping coaches from being professionals or from doing well in their profession is exactly the same thing that stops all professionals from being successful in their profession, right? And let me give you a couple of examples of that. My wife has recently started watching a program called Suits, right? Maybe it's the Meghan Markle effect. She's now our princess. We've taken her from the US. We've got her now over here on the UK side. So my wife's watching Suits, and it's a program, if people don't know, about a bunch of lawyers, right? And it's a great little program. And I watched kind of the first season a few years ago, and I've started watching it again. And what's really interesting is that there's kind of two main people. There's one guy who's the hotshot lawyer, and there's another guy who's got kind of this memory, like he remembers everything. He reads something once and he remembers it. So he's really, really, really smart. Like, a very, very good attribute to have. But he's being mentored by this other hotshot lawyer, because even though he knows all this stuff, right, he's got to learn the kind of the nuances of the job. He's got to learn the ins and outs of being a lawyer. And that really applies to every profession. My sister, I've talked about this many times. My sister is a medical doctor, and she loves learning about medicine and everything else. And she's also spoken at a couple of 3 principles conferences in the UK. And she's told me privately that, when she's been introduced to the principles, it's really helped her be a better doctor, be a better physician, connect better with her patients. But that doesn't mean she throws all her medical training out the window, right? Being a doctor is a profession. And I think, Amir, what we're trying to get across to people is coaching is a profession too. And you don't need to coach. If you want to share the principles, go ahead and share the principles. There's 1,000,001 ways to do that, right? Coaching is just one of the ways you can earn a living from helping people to live their lives differently. And I feel that coming at that from a 3 principles perspective is incredibly useful, incredibly helpful. But it is a profession. And I think a lot of coaches, not just 3P coaches, forget that. They don't understand it. Now, if we look within professions, right, and I see this for myself, Amir, my professional journey from being a starter coach, 6 years ago, to slowly growing my business where it's now my full-time income. I've been doing this full-time for a few years now. A lot of that growth has been overcoming blind spots that I've had around, work, around productivity. There's loads of things that I've had to overcome. And I reflected on this today, and I realized something, that this was also the case when I was in my corporate job, right? When I was in my corporate job, I also had misunderstandings, right? Like I didn't go for certain promotions because I felt insecure. right? I didn't, I put off certain work because, you know, I was basing my working day on how I felt rather than what needed to be done, right? I wasn't, my word didn't mean a lot. If my boss asked me to do something, I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it, because I thought that's what I had to say. But it didn't really mean anything, because a number of times he'd say, have you done it? Oh, no, I'll get it done by the end of the day. Oh, sorry, I got sidetracked, right? And these are all things that I've had to learn to be a professional coach. And the thing is, with coaching, the standard is a lot higher, right? I'll be really honest. I can be book smart and learn about, you know, accountancy or law, or, you know, maybe there's a high degree, maybe medicine. But generally, if you've got a certain level of intelligence, you can get book smarts on any profession. And once you get to book smarts in a number of professions, you can kind of make do, get a job somewhere, and someone will pay you to do pretty average work. What I find with coaching, because we're self-employed, the bar is a lot higher, right? So it seems to me like if you're doing kind of average work, if you're showing up in a way where, you know, you just kind of mess around during the day, you're not really being a professional, then you don't really earn money, because people don't pay for that. And I found this time and time again when I've been coaching coaches, right? It's quite often that there's real logistical stuff I have to go through, right? Like, do you show up to your client calls on time, right? Do you make sure they run to time? Do you set up agreements with your clients, right? Do you, if you say that you're going to send them stuff, do you send it to them? Right? There's things that I can't even remember right now. There's so many things. Invoicing. I had a coach I was coaching, and I said, how many sessions has X client have? Oh, I'm not sure. Well, how are you invoicing them? Oh, I invoice them when I remember. Right? Doesn't work out. I had another coach I spoke to once. She showed up 20 minutes late for a conversation with me, and she called from a coffee shop, which was really loud. And I said, do you take client calls here? And she said, yeah. I said, you know, that's gonna impact the amount of money you can earn, because it's not professional. You wouldn't do it in a job, and there's a reason for it. It's distracting. So there are all these things that I've been seeing around being a professional coach is the same as being a professional in coaching. And here's a confession, right? This is my confession. When I quit my corporate job in 2013, I handed my notice in 2014, sorry. There was a little bit of me in 2014, which was kind of like, yeah, I don't need to report to a boss. I don't need to do these stinking reports. I don't need to have anyone telling me what to do. And it looked like to me, it was easier and would feel better if I didn't have a job and I was working for myself. Right? Now, I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, I miss having someone telling me what to do. I love the fact that I get to be really creative. I love the fact that I'm more in charge of my day, right? There are a lot of things that there are benefits for now, right? However, there was also a misunderstanding from my side, which was, oh, it's not going to, I didn't really realize I was going from one job, which was my job in procurement, or some people call purchasing, right? That I was going to another job. This is a job. This is what I do for a living. If you want to do this, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, if you want to do this on the side, if you want to, coach part-time, which is great. A lot of people do. I mean, you do this part-time. You can do that, right? But if you want to even do it part-time and earn, decent amount of money from it, whatever that means to you, or whether you want to do it full-time, then it is a job. It really is. And again, my coach, Steve Chandler, has really reiterated this to me, that he said the problem with a lot of coaches is they don't realize it's a job, and they don't show up for work. And so that's why so many of them are struggling, because it really is cause and effect. And that's what I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we want to be talking about during our 3 months with our group and our community, that if we do certain things, and this is true for you and me as it is for anyone else, if we do certain things in this profession, we will sign up clients. The same as if we were a law firm of two people, you and I, Amir. If we just sat there and said, hey, we are lawyers for hire, and we got a nice website up, no one would hire us. And law firms have to do this. They do a lot of networking. They go and meet, professionals in their area. They go out and they get business. And if they don't do that, they don't get business, right? Again, my wife used to work for one of the big four, right? They do a lot of this work. There's a lot of work around getting clients in through the door. They have to do that in order to keep, their big fancy offices going and paying all the people the money that they pay, right? It's the same thing. And so it's the same thing as coaches, as kind of solopreneurs, that there are things that we need to do in order to get business through the door. And then there's other things we need to do to keep business in the door, right? Like you need to be a really, really good coach. Same as if you're an accountant and you were just making mistakes or you just weren't that good, it's going to be harder for you to retain business as if you are a really good accountant, right? So that's kind of where my head's at in terms of, and it really kind of lines up with the group name that we're doing, the professionals, because I want people who join us to really be professional. And I'm going to say something a little bit strong. There's a lot of conversations going around, right? And I'm seeing this for myself too. I don't like rocking the boat. I like reaching out. I like connecting with people. I like bringing the community together. I really do. But there are differences of opinion on this. Some people don't agree with Amir and I, right? Some people don't see this as a profession. They see this as a spiritual understanding, and all you need to do is point to your wisdom and let wisdom guide you. And if you believe that, you might be right, I might be wrong, but this is not what this group is for, right? And if that resonates with you, then we're not the people to guide you, because we're really pointing in a different direction. I hold my hand up. I might be wrong. Maybe 5 years time, I'll come back and say, I didn't see it right. But for me right now, it really, really clearly looks like this is a profession. There are things to learn as professionals. And I've done this now. I've worked with a number of professional coaches, and I've seen the ones that I work with who show up for work, take on board, this idea of being professionals, take on board learning the skill set of being a coach, willing to go and do the work. They see that being paid back in terms of clients through the doors. And the ones that don't, they don't see that. I don't know if you've got anything to add, Amir.
Yeah, and my wife is an interior designer, okay? And it's not that far from coaching. There's people that are really good at designing and they don't have a degree, right? They can literally do my wife's job. Well, why do they hire my wife? I mean, if someone else can do it for next to nothing, why do they hire my wife? Couple reasons. Number one, she's really good. Number two, she sets what is expected. There are boundaries and guidelines where if you're working with a friend, they might say, oh yeah, I'll try to stop by tomorrow. She doesn't have time for that because she has 8 other clients she needs to tend to. So there are direct times she's going to meet, for how long, this is how much it's going to charge, and that's beneficial for both parties, right? And one thing I just realized recently that happened is she went away from her professionalism when she worked with one of our close friends, right? She said, you know what, they're our close friends. I'll just, whenever they need me. And now she's frustrated, and now our friends are frustrated because the agreements are no longer there. They're saying, hey, we needed an hour and a half of your time. And my wife's like, I was going to give you 20 minutes of my time. What do you mean an hour and a half? And so now by simply just tweaking a little bit of her business, which again, with our other clients, there's no problems, it made the whole thing fall. And so that's what I want to point to in our community as well. It's look, like Kush said, if you know the principles, go on with your married life. Like coaching, it's like if I know the principles, that doesn't mean I have to go open up an ice cream shop. There's no correlation. You do not have to do anything. The principles in of itself are a spiritual paradigm that's just the most brilliant thing in the world. And the therefore is irrelevant at that point. And therefore, I need to open up an ice cream shop, be an interior designer, or be a coach. You don't have to do anything. But if you're on this call and you want to be and you want to be a successful coach, that's the question and answers I want to get to right now. So, are you cool with jumping in and seeing where we can just start helping?
Absolutely. We've got, 25 people apart from you and I who are on this. So, I would really, again, encourage if you want to be a professional coach, jump in, ask us questions. We're happy to answer them. And Amir and I have sometimes different views on things. So, which is really helpful because we learn from each other, and, we can come at things slightly differently. So I know we got some good feedback from the last webinar we did, and I'd love this one to be interactive too. And I love the comment that we've had from Neil so far. So Neil says, only listening to your wisdom still sounds like the old law of attraction thing. It's a different way of staying passive in the hopes of getting clients instead of actually creating them. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I didn't really see for a long time that clients could be created. I was really stuck in the whole attracting clients phase, thinking that they're hiding in a certain location. People know where they are, I don't. Well, there's certain keywords I need to say to okay, yeah, now I'm opened up to signing up as a coach, signing up for coaching. But no, clients are really created in this profession. It's a little bit different from maybe interior design and other professions in that way, where coaching is really not as well understood, and people don't really oh, great. Sue saying, I don't understand creating clients. This sounds like LOA to me, law of attraction. Brilliant. Great. I'll kind of carry on then. Yeah, clients are really created because they're not attracted. So law of attraction to me is like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wish really hard. I'm going to picture my ideal client and the client will show up. Whereas for me, client creation, in a way, like I talked about, law firms will go out and they'll scout business, right? Our version of client creation is helping people see that we can help them with issues, problems, challenges they've got, or goals or projects that they've got. And people don't realize that often people don't realize, I shouldn't say always, but often people don't realize that there's someone out there who can help them. And often they don't realize you can help them, right? So, I met a guy last year, had an addiction to pornography. He'd suffered with it for 3 or 4 years. Young guy. He had no idea at all that I might be able to help him, right? He had no idea whatsoever. And it was only through conversations, only through me, and it took a year. It took a year of us interacting, having several conversations. He really saw that life could be different for him. And it was, and then he hired me. But he wasn't even looking to hire a coach to help him with his addiction problem. He didn't realize that's what a coach or I could do to help him. And I've got so many examples of that, of clients of mine, some who might be on this call, who when we first started talking weren't looking for coaching because they didn't really align a challenge or a problem that they had to the work that I do. Most people don't understand the work that I do. I've written something down here, Amir, if you don't mind me sharing, where I was thinking, I did a workshop last week for some 3 principles coaches in Toronto. And before I did the workshop, the night before, I started thinking about if I had half an hour or 45 minutes to share with the group, and I could only share one thing, and it ties into this client creation piece. What is the one thing that I would share? And I started thinking about what is the difference, what is one distinction between coaches who are successful and coaches who are not successful? What is the key distinction I see in my head? And the thing that I wrote down was coaches who seem to struggle are focusing on themselves. And the coaches who seem to be doing well are focusing on the client. Right? It seems to be a real kind of black and white thing. So the coaches who are struggling, who are focusing on themselves, are like, how do I get clients, right? Or how do I share the principles? That's more so in our community, right? How do I share the principles? How do I get people to understand that the principles, are going to solve all their problems? It's all about the coach's agenda, right? And then if things don't go well, they focus again on themselves. Oh, I don't have the personality for it. This might mean something about my character. I always do this. I always don't do this. It's very, very inward focus, right? It's very much on the coach. Whereas the coaches I see, or even the practitioners, some people don't even call themselves coaches, they really focus on the person in front of them, right? So I remember when I had a little bit of mentoring with Dickon Bettinger, he would tell me, I said, Dickon, how do you go and work with business clients? And he said, I go in and I talk to them and I find out what their challenges are. I find out, what their issue is. So he said, and I'm paraphrasing, so apologies to Dickon if I misquote him, but something along the lines, this is what I heard, that if he went and talked to a CEO and the CEO said, you know what, my challenge is that we're not making enough money, right? He would say, well, tell me more about that. Tell me, why do you think that is? Why does that happen? He really wants to understand the client's world. And then he would, something along the lines of, point them to the truth, which is the more that they're up in their head, the less clearly they're able to think and address this challenge. It's really quite obvious. And they'd be like, yeah. So he would help them see that the clearer the head would be at, it would have a direct impact on the challenge they were having, which was the money thing. He wasn't saying money is not important, money is an illusion, it's all energy, forget about money, let me talk to you about the spiritual nature of the three principles. He was saying, look, I've got something that's going to help you with your challenge. And he would create clients like that. He created me as a client, because I remember when I spoke to him, a couple of years ago, and I won't give away the conversation, but there was something I was talking to him about, and I was like, well, maybe one day we'll work together. We were just chatting, and he said something which directly addressed something that I had in my head. And when he said that, I was like, that is what I want. That is what I will pay for. And I signed up with him. Right? And this is true for all coaches, and this is true for me, that I've learned over time, and there's probably still more for me to learn around this, is understanding where the client's at. And I think it's, and I'm going to use a strong word, right? And maybe some people don't think this is strong. Maybe this is me just being very British. But I think it's very arrogant of us to go in and say, we know what's best for you, Mr. Client. I don't care what you think, right? I'm just going to tell you what you need to know, right? I'm going to tell you how it is. And then we wonder why we don't get clients, because it is very arrogant. But when we stick to, I can see Jack Austin writing a few comments, getting clear on the client's desired result. Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean I don't challenge that, right? Because sometimes what they think they want is not what they really want. But I'm really getting into their world, right? So, let's say Amir was out there. He might not be looking for a coach, but he's struggling with his restaurants. If someone came in and said, hey, Amir, do you want to learn about the fact that the restaurants are just made up? Probably going to pass, right? Whereas if someone came along and went, oh, Amir, you're struggling with this. Do you know I can help you with that? Would you like to maybe have a conversation about it? He's going to be much more open to go, yeah, sure, because that's a challenge he's facing right now. That's what coaching is about. And it's not a bait and switch. It's not a lie, right? If you're a skilled coach, you can help people. And I think if you especially are grounded in the principles, that's a huge, huge, power, right? That you've got over any other coach. So clients really, really, really are created. I see that 100%, that I go around creating clients every single day by working out what they want. And again, I was talking to a client today who's a coach, who's a new coach. And I was talking to him and he was telling me about a client of his who has just signed up with him. And he said, you know what? this client signed up with me. The client wants X, but I don't know I really want to share X with him. And we talked about this. I said, what does it matter what you want? Right? Like, you're here to serve the client. If the client wants X, why not give the client X? For now, meet them where they're at. And without kind of being too mysterious, it was the client wanted some accountability. I said, look, if the client wants some accountability right now, why not deliver it to them and then open up the conversation deeper? Right? Because the client was really firm on it. I just want accountability. Well, it's much more respectful to give the client what they want. Now, you can challenge it, you can ask questions around it, but ultimately, we are here to serve the clients. And I've seen that when I've had great coaching, and I've also seen that when I've had not so great coaching. And I know that I've done that too. And when I really get into the client's world, not make it about me, oh, I'm not confident enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, me, that's when I'm more in the client's world, and that's what leads to creating clients. Anything to add, Amir?
We had one of the questions. I asked people to post questions if you can't make it, and one of the people in my group said, I want to know mostly about removing my own barriers to effective coaching. And again, it's about me. Like, how can I remove my barriers? When you're serving, there's no barriers. You're having a conversation. What barriers are there to be afraid of? I mean, there's a barrier when there is an end result that you already think you need to be at. Then, of course, you're going to try to scramble your way in. But, I always use this example. I got into a recovery center. I've never been an addict. I don't have a recovery background. I mean, this is a 1 in 1,000 shot that they give me the opportunity every single week to speak to their community, to their group. This is a insurance, like, it's one of the most heavily, like, legally bound thing you can do as a recovery center, and they get me in there every week. And how I got in there is I had a conversation with one of the psychologists. They needed help writing a book. Right? That was it. Hey, you've written 5 books, Samir. Can you help me? Now, did I say, well, did you also know I'm a coach and I know the 3 principles? I said, sure, I'll help you with the book. Well, I ended up finding out he was in his head about writing a book. That's what it was. So we ended up talking about stuff for an hour. And he said, at the end of that call, at the end of our hour, he said, whatever you did to me, Amir, would you be open to doing that at my recovery center? Right? There was no barrier. It was a dialogue with another human being. That's what we forget in this profession. We're talking to human beings. We're not talking to corporations. We're not talking to doctors. We're not talking to attorneys. We're not talking to multimillionaires. We're talking to another person in front of us. Yes, there's a barrier if you're talking to a Fortune 500 CEO that's just made 10. Well, that sounds scary to me. Strip all that away. You're talking to another person that eats, sleeps, fights, wakes up sad, wakes up unhappy, wakes up happy. And you know what's missing is we're so afraid of having dialogues. Most people are looking for a strategy to show up as a human. Like, that's how bad it's become. What's a really nice way to enroll someone so it feels more human, but is there a tactic to be more human? It's baffling to me. And one of the things I want to do in my group is I want to humanize this profession. I think it's very important to get back and go, wait a minute, you don't need a strategy to say hello to somebody. You don't need a strategy for someone when they say, hey, I could really use your help for you to go and do some weird thing. Boundaries are okay. I think that's good. Or saying, how about next Tuesday at 1:00? I think that's fair to do. So you guys are both in agreement. But besides that, all the fear and all the barrier things that we're afraid of and all these self-esteem issues is simply because we forgot that the other person that we're going to have a dialogue with is just a human being. That's easy to do. Yeah, there's some things to do, but that's a really, really important starting point with my coaching. So
No, yeah, I love that. Thanks, Samir. I couldn't see those questions, but if there's any others there, that please let me know, and we can jump into them.
Well, we got a bunch of people here. Let's get someone here, someone that's got a client question, client issue, struggle, or any general questions for everybody. I'm sure whatever question you have, someone else has thought about. So
And if you want to ask it privately as well, you can private message me or Amir on the chat, and we will ask it out privately too. If you if you
yeah.
if you don't want to be named, we're happy to do that as well. If you're a little bit shy,
Oh, I am
that's
so
fine.
not shy. Can I go? I am too old to be shy. That's not true. I'm very shy sometimes. So for me, it's about the conversation that will bring clients in. Before the principals, I was a resource accountability coach, and I could really rock that kind of game. I can do resource and accountability. Well, I could. Now it holds so little luster, even for me in my own life. It's really changed, and it's changing my approach to my work. So one thing I'm really clear on is I don't talk about the three principles by quoting them. I'm not looking to be a 3P teacher. I'm a student. But it's informing everything I do about my coaching. And there are two things that I'm bumping up against. And one is that here in Northern California, I'm in the land of technique coaches, tapping and whatever. And I don't know how to network anymore because of the way my relationship to techniques has shifted. And then I also I'm fumfering, that's technical Yiddish word for stumbling in the dark around how to talk to people who could be clients for me. So I know the work I'm doing is to let go of my attachment to thinking that I'm doomed to repeat the past, and also to work on my attachment to the outcome of how much I have on it. That's my internal game. But my external game is how I interact with people, and I'm fumfering. So I don't know. That's kind of a big question.
So, Sue, can I ask a couple of questions?
Please.
Did you know what to do when you were the previous coaching you did, which was kind of accountability coaching? Did you have any problem kind of creating clients in that world?
Oh, I did. And yet, looking back on it, it feels like I was so much more confident then than I am now. I mean, I felt like I had more to talk about because structures and accountability are easier for me to talk about than the conversation's really changed for me, and I don't know the way in.
So what was the way in previously?
Oh, well, what are you trying to accomplish in your life? And, I know, so I have a vast bag of tools and techniques, and we'll try them out, and I'll help you, hold you accountable, and la, 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 like that. That kind of structure is evaporated. And I haven't found a replacement.
So I know we've got a number of questions, so I'm going to do this laser style, if that's okay, right?
Okay.
What if you started with the same place? So what if your starting point was, what do you want to accomplish?
Oh. Okay. That's rippling. I don't have words, but yes.
Because that's still the same. It's still important to see where the client's at. And then what's really, really great is whether you're a 3P coach or not a 3P coach, rather than telling them about what you can do and how great your tools and tricks are, you remember what I was talking about before, focusing on yourself versus focusing on the client?
Yeah.
It's actually going to help you, regardless of what type of coach you are, to have them do the talking and put the onus on them. They don't care what kind of tool or technique or trick you use. You could call it the 3P standing on one hand technique I use with you. They don't care.
With my eyes closed, yes.
Right? We care. We really care. Oh, we're this kind of coach. We're that kind of coach. The client doesn't. They care about what they care about.
Right. Right. Great. And that's really the same thing the same place I've been coming from for years, which is letting the potential client know that I've been there and understand them and letting them talk. I don't know why I've been tying myself up in knots. I do, because I have a lot on it. So that's the other piece. That's my work, is my desperation.
Yeah. And everyone on this, I can speak for everyone now. I'm going to just generalize. Everyone can relate to that. So I say to my clients in a loving way, you're not a special little snowflake, right? We've all been there. We're all special snowflakes. We've all felt desperate. We've all felt insecure. It's okay. You're part of the human race. It's nothing we need to address.
Thank you.
I have some.
God, I just want to say one more thing, just to round it up. So, what I find really useful, if you talk for long, if you get the client to talk for long enough, they will tell you how to coach them. Because if you speak to someone, they will talk for long enough to say, well, you know what? I really want to have a better relationship with my son, but the problem is he keeps doing this, he keeps doing that, and you'll just see it clear as day. Oh, she's outside in. Well, you know what? I want to grow my company, but my employees are a real pain. They just don't work hard enough. And if they keep talking, they'll just be presenting reams and reams of outside-in misunderstanding. They'll give you exactly what you will be coaching.
Right. Right. That's really useful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, there was someone else.
That was me.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Ankush. I just have, like you mentioned, you should ask, what do you want to accomplish? And I actually asked that specific question today. I had a coaching conversation with someone, and she said she wants to, she needs help to not get triggered by her mother-in-law. And we talked about it, and I used kind of like a combination of Byron Katie's, the work, and the principle without mentioning the principle. Finally, what really resonated with her was the metaphor of the sun and the clouds. And the clouds are just there, and they don't change. They don't change the temperature, the color of the sun, and they move away. So like basically I was trying to get her to see that she's the sun and the thoughts are the clouds, and they will pass. And that really resonated with her. And however, though, after that, I just the hour passed, she got like some really good insight. And then I asked her, are we complete? And she, I feel like I kind of don't know where to go from there. Cause I ask you for complete, and then they're like, a lot of time I get a yes, like I'm complete with these, but then that doesn't necessarily lead to, but there's more or something. So how do you navigate those waters?
Amir, you want to take this one?
Sure.
Hi, Amir.
How are you, Laura? So
Good.
here's how I do it. It's very simple. Are we complete for now? Yes, we are. I'll tell you what, I would be so looking forward to hearing what shifted for you in a week from now. Would you be open to having another dialogue next Tuesday at 1:00? Yes, great. Oh, you can't? Okay, well, let's pull up our calendars right now. See, I do not ever, if I have them on the line, I will set up another call. I do not do the, well, you're complete. All right, well, have a nice day.
Right.
See, I'm always the coach. I'm always the person that's setting up the boundaries. Not, I don't want to say running the show, but I
The
want the
leader.
relationship. Yes, I want the relationship to be understood from the beginning that this is how it's going to go if we're going to have a relationship, this kind of relationship, right? Now, the client can say, I'm complete. I don't want to have one. That's okay too.
Mhm.
But 10 out of 10 times that I've asked, would you like another dialogue in a week from now? Can we put something on the calendar? No one has ever said no.
So
What
I,
I, one
I'm
more
sorry. Go
thing.
ahead.
What has happened before is, man, where I was too afraid to say that, and someone would come back to me and said, man, I wish I would have shared with you what had happened, but we never put anything on the calendar. And I just finally said, enough of that. So now every time after I have a dialogue with a client, would you like to have another conversation? Would you like this? Would you like me to send something to you? Now, let's say I messed up and I forgot. And I'm giving you guys some strategies, okay?
Mhm.
I will email them and say, hey, I forgot to mention something on our call. Let's get on a call. And then what I forgot to mention is that we should set up another call. Literally, I do not set up calls on email. For me, that's a personal thing. I do not set up, I don't say, hey, how are you today? Do you want to have another call? It's just for some reason it never resonates. So I do it over the phone. And that's how I would respond. I don't know if Kush would do it
Mhm.
differently, but I'm very, very direct.
So
So
Sue's asking as well, are these pre signing up client conversations?
yes, and in this particular case, I actually asked specifically if she would like to have another conversation in say 10 days, and she said yes. And then when I said, let's look at our calendar, I literally pulled out my calendar. She's like, I don't want to set it up now. So I didn't want to force, because this wasn't about me, right? It was about her. So I don't, I guess I don't know. I'm like trying to learn, like, what could I be doing differently, or maybe just let it go. Because I offered the uh, option of speaking again in 10 days, and she said yes. But then when I went to like logistics, okay, let's set it up. She's like, I'm not ready to set it up now.
So no problem. I mean, here's the thing. So when that happens, it's not a big deal. You say,
Mm-hmm.
fine. When are you going to be able to set it up? I mean, maybe they have something going on. I can do it later on tonight. Great. I'll look
Mm-hmm.
forward to your email. Like, what I'm saying is there's guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes a client is just saying, oh, this was amazing, as a thank you and as a kind compliment. And that's okay too,
Mm-hmm.
right? That sometimes happens. And you may hear from a dialogue. If someone is coming to me going, wow, that was great, thank you so much. I normally don't like those conversations, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that kind of tells me that like Sue right now, she went, yeah, something, just something. I got what you meant, and it was very like, I can't really
Yeah.
explain it to you
And
right now.
that's
And it
kind
was
of
just
what it was. Yeah. Like
okay.
was kind of like, I want to sit and chew on this piece of insight that I just had before I put something in the calendar or something like that.
Okay, fair enough. Then just set the boundary. Okay, when would be a good time for you to look at your calendar? Tonight
So
at
that,
8
like, to
tonight.
me, that starts to feel, I think this is where I'm struggling, because personally to me that starts to feel like I'm becoming pushy.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, that, and I'm telling you, this is what I do. I'm not telling you should do that, but
Mm-hmm.
what I've realized is that we are afraid of making commitments like that. And when we are, it's already starting the situation with your client. If your client doesn't, if it starts already where it's, well, I'm not ready, I don't want to do it. You say, okay, how about tonight? They say, okay, tonight at 8 o'clock comes and say, I'm sorry, I forgot, I was running around in the grocery. Next thing you know, 3 months down the line, they're saying, I want my money back. I don't know. Our relationship's not working out. I don't know. I wonder what happened. It's because I create, and that goes back to creating a client for me. The client isn't created once they pay you. That's the biggest myth in the world. The client gets created as soon as you have a dialogue, as soon as the boundaries have been set, right? And it happens to me. I've never had, I have 100% success rate because I brought the client to me. In other words, I've up-leveled the way that they show up in the world, so I don't have failure clients. A lot of the times we have clients that want their money back or they don't want to pay you. It's because we've created a boundary that's kind of soft. We've created a boundary that we're afraid to create in hopes that we don't want to hurt their feelings. We don't want to bother them. You know, maybe they're busy. Well, great. If you're busy, then let's not waste each other's time. That's okay too. If this isn't good for you. I mean, Laura, you're a really good example. You and I have had private dialogues. And when I've said to you, if this isn't for you, don't do it. I'm very clear. And if you are, you know, then pay and you'll be in. It doesn't hurt. Did it hurt your feelings when I said that to you?
No, but I'm tough skinned. I can take stuff. I'm very open and, you know.
Good. Make your clients become tough skinned and open.
Can I offer a different point of view, Laura?
Sure.
Slightly different version. And this is what's great, is that there's no one way to do things. These are just guidelines. If I speak to someone and then I say, "Are we complete?" and they say yes, and I say, "Would you like to have another conversation?" and they say, "I don't want to schedule it right now," I will say, "I trust your wisdom implicitly," because it's true. I'm not coming from the 3 Ps. I learned this from Steve, who learned this from Dick and Bettinger. He said, as a 3P coach, Steve Chandler said this to me, who's not a 3P coach. He went, as a 3P coach, how can you show up to a client and say, I trust, I'm pointing you to your wisdom, trust your wisdom, except when it disagrees with me, then you need to trust my wisdom. That doesn't make sense, right? And I was like, oh, busted. Yeah, I've done that. And it really helped me to see that if a client's really saying, you know what, I need this to settle in, great. Allow it to settle in and say, I trust you, because it's going to work itself out. And, you can create a system where you put that person to one side in a little book or something like that. Just keep a note of it and say, in a couple of weeks, if they don't come back to you, you can just touch base with them. And I don't like use the word touch base or check in, but like I might reach out to them again in a couple of weeks and say, something based on what we spoke about, right? Because I don't want to leave them out there, Now, like Amir said, if the client says, you know what, no, I don't want to have any more, I don't want anything to do with you, you've offended me, you're a terrible human being, great. Now it's done, it's closed, the chapter's closed, right? But, so that's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing that I found really, really helpful is I found it really helpful a few years ago so as Amir's talking about leadership, I found it really, really helpful to help people understand how this works. So I realized I can't, transform a client's life in one conversation 99% of the time. Right? I might have a client conversation. They might have the biggest insight. Their life will never be the same. Most of the time, it doesn't happen like that. Most of the time, it's the initial spark, and then we kind of get going down the road. Right? So I started to let clients know that. I said, hey, so they'll say, I want help with X. Great. Let's have a conversation about it. Just so that chances are we're not going to resolve all of this on the first conversation. That's not how this works. Change tends to take a little bit of time. Now, it might take a few sessions, it might take a lot more, but it tends to take a bit of time. I'm just setting expectation. So when I used to say that, it became much easier for us to say, so do you want another conversation? Because they understood it was going to take several conversations. I found there was less resistance. Whereas when I didn't say that, clients were kind of like, well, why do you want to talk to me again? It was a very different setup. So I just found that useful for me to just let people know that, it's going to tend to take a bit of time. I'm happy to have a conversation or two with you, right? And also, I also make the bridge between the conversations super clear, right? So if I leave a conversation, I just don't want to go, are you complete? Like at the end, I want to kind of lead it into something. So if I'm talking to someone who's having difficulty in their relationships, I spoke to a woman a few weeks ago. I think I spoke about this in the last webinar. I kind of left it with, will you go on to Amazon today and buy the relationship handbook and read it? Right? Like I wanted her to kind of carry on the journey. She said, yeah, eventually. Yes. Right. I went, great. Now, why don't we talk in a week's time? By that stage, you'll have had some time to read some of the book. That it kind of led in much, because then she knows, okay, I'm going to read some of this book and then I can talk to him, because again, having read what he's told me to do, it's kind of a much smoother transition.
I like that bridging idea.
All right. I know Kathy's been asking how she can ask a question for some time. Thank you, Laura. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, and I'm here. Hi, I'm Kathy. Nice to meet you. Okay, thank you, Amir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Great.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm sitting in the back seat of my car in my grocery store's parking lot. I didn't want to miss you. Amir, I love the story that you told about the addiction center and how that, you spoke to one person and how that led to speaking to the whole group, and you just gave me the best idea. I've been having quite a problem in a local grocery store with a particular employee there who is really made my, if I didn't have the principals and all of us, could have made my life very miserable, because she did some slandering and gossiping and manipulating. I finally went to the general manager of the store, and surprisingly, he was very interested in what I had to say and wants to talk again. And you just gave me the idea that I have been putting this off. I haven't gotten back to him. I've even ran into him in the store the other day, and he said, you do have my extension, don't you? It's 209, and I'd like to talk to you again. And I just got it that not only can I talk with him and, tell him what I do for a living, but you gave me an idea how I would like to actually extend that to all the employees there, many of them are being abused by the person who has been bothering me. And that could be another, like that could lead to just my calling him today and saying, hi, Craig, I'll take care of the situation with Craig right now, but I see where that can lead to another business contact. I can help him with his employees, as a matter of fact, on a group level, individual, whatever. So thank you. I just want to say thank you for that idea. That makes sense?
Absolutely. And Kathy, I was going to say, and now you guys tell me, I'm going to ask her something, Kathy.
Uh-oh.
If you do talk to the manager, would you be willing to share with us what happened with however it shows up? Would you be okay with it?
Oh, of course I will. I hadn't even thought about it in terms of coaching. If you want to know the truth, it's just like a very small town, and I'm kind of, because of the particular topic that I coach on, I never tell the people in town that I coach. I only coach online, because it seems to be scandalous in this small town. And so I'm going to have to come out a little bit as to who I am and what I do. And yes, I'll be glad to. I'm ready to make a big jump like that.
Awesome.
Change.
Would you mind if I just kind of reiterate a couple of things that we've spoken about, Kathy, and how it might be useful in your conversation?
Yeah.
Like I've said a couple of times, I think what would be really effective with this guy, if I was going to go and have a conversation with him, is focus on him. So if this is a problem employee, I want to find out, have other people ever complained about her? Does he have a problem with her? Have other employees complained about her? What are his challenges at work? Right? What is he struggling with? So if I find out all of those things, right, it's going to be so much easier for you to then go in with, okay, this is where I might be able to help you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. And listen, I'm the only one that ever has spoken up, and that's why he's very interested. He came by me the other day and said, do you think she's fair? And I said, no, she's not fair at all. And that's how I've left him. I've never followed through to contact. So thanks, Monkish, and nice to see you in person.
Likewise.
I'll tell you one of my real quick. One of my favorite things my coach told me to do, that I think his coach made him do, is put this in wherever I have my dialogues. I normally speak at my office. I was supposed to put this somewhere visible, because that was my biggest problem. So whenever I got on a coaching call, I would have it so I could see it. And I realized something, that I wanted to do all the work. I wanted to give them the transformation. I wanted to make sure that, they got the big insight so I could say, yeah, it was because of my coaching. It turns out, like, Ankush is very brilliant at it. He asks a question like he did with you, or what he suggests, and allows you to see what needs to happen next. And that's something, for everyone that's on this call, when in doubt, stop talking. Literally stop talking. Like, and, don't worry about, well, what if they don't see it, or whatever it is. Just stop talking. Even when I say to people, and again, this is not when I was giving advice to Laura, it's advice. It's not a strategy and advice, because this is what I would do, is, would you like to make an appointment a week from now? No. Okay, is there any particular reason? And I stop talking. And you'll be surprised. Actually, I'm a little bit nervous about, our conversation was great, but I'm afraid you're going to start charging me, or all of a sudden you'll start to see it. You'll start to see it really immediately. So one of the biggest things that was gifted is knowing that particular thing. It's just stop talking. So.
Well, thank you so much, Amir. Thank you, everyone else. That hour has really, really flown by. Ideally, we could have spent, an hour on each question, and gone much deeper. But we wanted to keep to this hour. I hope that's been really helpful for people. My hope and desire is that, through the work that Amir and I are doing, really people start to understand a bit more about this being a profession. They learn a little bit more about how to show up. And I think, whether you want to be a professional coach or not, I think that understanding some of the aspects around coaching can really help us help other people, which is, I think, why we're all here, to help other people. So thanks, Amir, for joining us. Thanks, everybody else. If people want to join us, because we're doing, I'll just say this final thing, we're, as many people know, we're doing a 3-month journey where we'll be doing 7 of these webinars in a much smaller group, as well as a private online Facebook group, and lots of support and lots of free gifts. There's already some stuff that we're giving out, like Amir's book and an audio book, and there's lots of content we're sharing to help coaches really upskill themselves. We've still got some places left on that. Amir, how can people get hold of that and sign up?
So I will put the link. I'm going to put this recording up in my group, and you're welcome. Obviously, it's in your group, so you can put it up. And are you okay with putting the link up on there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Under the recording. So I'll put it on. I'll put the YouTube up. I'll put the recording down. You can also look, you guys can get a hold of me and Ankush. Whether you join the program or not, if you get off here and you say, hey, I have a couple more questions I would like resolved, email us. I promise you I won't try to get you to do another call with me in a week from now, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Just let me know if there's anything that you want to add, or any questions or insights. Besides that, I am really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to seeing a few of you guys that are in the program, that are already here, and having the support. Because at the end of the day, the biggest thing I've learned, and I'll leave it with this, is screwing up and seeing other people in the group say me too, and going, okay, good, I'm not alone. That to me is the biggest thing that I've ever learned with being with our colleagues and peers is, okay, I'm maybe not as crazy as I thought. These people messed up and succeeded the same way I'm doing it. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Amir. Yeah, we'll put it up, and I hope, regardless of whether people sign up or not, I hope this has been useful. Thank you for joining us.